an impact where it doesn't exist. Now, a few words about fare policy. This is a very complicated world of how do you set fares for these services. Sometimes in the U.S. we really look at setting fares based on the aviation mode, making sure that the high-speed trains will be equivalent to, less than the air travel that is now there, because that is seen as the competing mode. The SNCF in France has a general basic fare structure for second-class passengers, and in France there's a first class and a second class, and they have a protocol where the SNCF proposes fares, and they have to be approved by the transportation department. So there's a complicated consideration of the cost of producing the seat between two places, the amount of demand that we have predicted, the constraints on filling that demand, and then what service is being offered, and taking those things into account, setting of fares. Now here you see that the number of high-speed train travelers in France starting in 1981 at about 7.3 million, and in 2013 somewhere around 145 million. The market penetration of high-speed trains in France has been basically dominant where service is provided, and it extends well beyond the limits of high-speed running, because if you get on a train in Paris, for instance, it will be on high-speed territory up to a certain point and then move to the conventional railroad, going a lot slower, but you don't have to get off the train, you don't have to change trains, and there's a great deal of convenience in that, even though the travel time is longer than it would be if it was all high-speed trains. Yield management is a philosophy of managing capacity and sales, changing the pricing of a seat based on the demand for that seat. And because real-time information can now be made available with respect to the station, the rail operators, in a bit of hyperbole, it says that the market is driven towards perfection. Perfection being defined as the exact right price point to maintain the attractiveness of the service, fill every seat, and not drive anyone away because of price. Train tickets are not auctioned off. It's very complicated to find a software solution with respect to trains because of the number of station stops in between the major origins and destinations, far more complex than the air industry. So you have a lot of constraints to be taken into account. The low-cost air companies illustrates a no-constraint model because they are selling seats between A and B at the lowest possible cost to get the most passengers. But in the rail industry, there are many constraints. So here's some of the constraints. There may be a public policy on maximum fare. There are first and second class seats to take into account. There may be social discounts like half fare for persons over 65. There may be other social discounts for children, for groups, etc. All of these need to be taken account. You need to optimize pricing to maximize revenues or maximize the traffic volume. Yield management is very difficult. Here you can see for a low-cost air carrier, the width of the scale that they're selling seats can go from 25 euros to 165 euros. On the TGV, from 25 euros to 97, far more constrained. So you can have different prices for different seats depending on how much demand is there, and this is a very sophisticated set of techniques. So these are the three key areas of consideration. Traffic forecasting, to try to predict the number of riders that will be attracted to the service. And the traffic forecasting system is continuous. Even when you're operating, you're still trying to forecast the impact of new services, of changes to service, of different schedules, and different pricing. And that gets to yield management, trying to put in the formula for pricing, having an impact on traffic, and yielding either the maximum traffic or the maximum revenue. So that, I believe, is the last slide, and I've given you a sense of these issues, not necessarily a way to apply them, but certainly you can draw down these slideshows at your convenience. And again, if you have any questions with respect to these issues, you can post them on the forum. And right now, I'm willing to take some questions as you see fit. I've really appreciated your being part of this program, each and every one of you, and hope that it's given you some benefit with respect to the high-speed rail mode and its peculiarities, and it's the technical specifics that make it work. I should add that those of you who listened to Lecture 1, one of the issues was whether there was going to be a rail legislation before the expiration of the PRIA, the Passenger Rail Improvement Act, which expires on September 30th. I believe today is September 23rd, so it expires in 7 days, and I can assure you that there will not be any rail legislation in the next 7 days. And I can tell you that there would be, it's very hard to predict what lies ahead in the next 12 months. It may well be there will not be any government in 7 days. And